Hi, my name's Cecilia Poullain, and welcome to this episode of Brave New Women. All around the world, there are amazing, ordinary women doing extraordinary things. Brave New Women is about giving those women a platform and a voice, and it's about changing the way that women are perceived, and it's a way of inspiring all of us to do the things that we've always wanted to do. Today, I'm so pleased to be talking to Demet Özdemir. And Demet is Turkish. And she worked at Arthur Andersen, which then became Ernst&Young in Istanbul for 29 years. She resigned in January this year, and she was a senior partner when she resigned. But in parallel to her high-powered career, Demet had a son with cystic fibrosis. And for those who've been listening to the podcast for a while, you may have heard my interviews with Sonia Marshall and Rosalie Dillon Sinclair, who also both have children with cystic fibrosis. And if you've listened to those interviews, you will know just how much is involved in having a child with the disease. So I wanted to talk to Demet just to understand how she had managed to combine her incredibly successful career with having a child with CF. So welcome, Demet.
Thank you. Thank you, Cecilia, and all the others who are listening or watching us. I'm pleased to be with you.
Demet, when did you discover that your son had CF?
My son is now 12 years old, and he was diagnosed when he was 5 months or 6 months old. Really early stage and age as well.
And how did you know that he had CF?
I have been breastfeeding him for the first 5 months with no other external food or whatsoever. So when we started the regular food one by one, the external food intake, then he started to lose weight. And he started to look sick, and then he started to wake up at nights in tears, in cries, sometimes vomiting. So it was so obvious that he was not comfortable at all. And then despite he was eating enough, together with the breast food, external intake food was good, but he was not gaining weight. At that age, every week, the baby needs to gain weight, and you watch very closely, but he didn't. So the doctors felt like, okay, there's something wrong. It's obvious. And this is how we started our CF journey.
And what is CF?
Yeah, that was a big learning for us as well. I had no idea about that sickness or illness before he was diagnosed with that. Cystic fibrosis is a hereditary disease that affects the lungs and the digestive system. And the body produces thick and sticky mucus that can clog the lungs and obstruct the pancreas as well. So the cystic fibrosis can be a life-threatening disease, and people with this condition tend to have a shorter than normal lifespan. And it is interesting because it is an inherited disease caused by mutations in a gene. And that means that gene, the CFTR gene, they say, it provides instructions for the body, and it needs to come from both the mom and the dad. So we, with my husband, we both were probably carrying this gene. And there is 25% that your son can be sick. 50% he can carry, and 25% he is totally free of cystic fibrosis. So we were lucky to catch that 25% of our son to be cystic fibrosis.
And how did you feel when you found out that he had cystic fibrosis?
I remember the day like yesterday, even though it was 12 years ago, that when I received the test results, because it has been a journey to be able to diagnose it as well, because it has taken a lot of diagnoses, a lot of tests. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? The doctors did many other tests as well. And this final test was a sweat test. And for the first time, I heard about a sweat test. And what it stands for was, then I understand, and I was told that it is for the diagnosis of this CF. And then I was at my desk at my work when I received the test results of the sweat test. And then I left my desk untidy and everything as it was immediately. And of course, in tears. And I remember I met a friend and telling and sharing with her where we are, where I am. And it was the first moment. And then the feelings started to came through. I was terrified. I was scared, lost, no idea, not knowing what to do, no idea what it is, and very worried about future, both for him and for us. And we had been married for 2 years only, so I had the glorious future plans, obviously, for all the family. And now we have a big time, life-threatening problem. And when you read on the internet, then you learn how severe the disease is and how difficult it is to take care. And so, yeah, any feeling I had was obviously negative at the time.
And so how did you move forward from there, from that position of feeling scared and sad?
First thing is acceptance. Acceptance, when acceptance comes, then I started to feel like, okay, this is going to be okay. So in terms of acceptance, what I mean is I stopped questions like, why me, why him, why us? So when you take yourself out of that victim box, then you can move on, or I could move on in terms of learning what it is, finding the right way to move forward, establishing the right doctors, the system, and everything around us. And then maybe I need to tell about this more as well. And then how the others are looking at this, others meaning my family, our family and friends, how we share about it. They all need the acceptance first, and then learning what it is and finding the solutions to take care of your beloved one. Nothing is more important than how we take care of him.
Tell me a little bit about the acceptance of your family and the people around you.
I need to tell about my mom first. And of course, all of the family members were shocked, surprised, like we did. And same for them. They had no idea what it was. And this is a disease that there is no cure, by the way. So there's no cure for cystic fibrosis. You only know and learn to live with that. And in order to live with cystic fibrosis, you need to have routine therapies, you need to have healthy lifestyles, you need to have this and that. Maybe we talk about it. But there is no cure for this sickness. You live with it. But look, coming back to my mom, she still says, he will recover this one day. I have a strong belief for that. Mom, there's no recovery from this sickness. You just know and learn to live with this. So it is sort of a denial I still see in her. And she, for example, couldn't accept that he's sick, and he's sick for his entire life. And we don't call it as a sickness, and it is not called like that, by the way. It is a condition. It is a precondition. And how you define and how you look at the issue or the condition is making life much more easier for us. So we have accepted, and we have helped our child to accept that, and that's okay. That's normal. There are so many people who are living with many other conditions, or with many others maybe struggles, and this is part of life. And that is unfortunate, maybe, but thanks God, there's ways to handle this, and we have been nicely and healthily in health conditions coming up to this year and today, basically. And he's in a very good condition, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That's fantastic. And what does it imply on a day-to-day basis?
There are many things that he and us, of course, need to take care during this lifestyle. First of all, it is on everyday basis. You cannot take vacation or holiday from CF. So you need to do that every day in order to become healthy and live a regular lifestyle. And what it means is taking many pills during the day, every day, with every food intake, because the digestive system is not working well. There's a malabsorption. And you need to have more nutrition because there's a malabsorption in the body system, and nutrition is very, very important. And when he was a kid, the doctor was saying to me he has to eat at least 30% more than a regular child. And can you imagine feeding a 6-month baby 30% more feeding, and with healthy style as well? It was really difficult. I'm still obsessed with his nutrition and digestion, by the way. It never passes. And
so does he eat more often?
Say that again?
Does he eat more often? Because I imagine that his stomach can only absorb so much food. Or does he just eat more at meals?
He eats more, and he eats more calorie and more fat. So he is lucky in that sense that there is no limit for his fat. He eats as much as he wants to, and he doesn't gain kilo. Like, he will never become an obese or whatever. And in that sense, he eats 3 regular courses with no exception, with proper food, with the proper nutrition inside, and then 3 snacks in between, and that needs to be proper protein and carbohydrate and fats all together added up with it, and many other details also I need to take care. I remember the doctor again when he was only like 7-8 months old. 3 nuts one day, 3 walnuts the other day. So crush it and make or stir it in the pudding. And I mean, can you imagine yourself like in one of the snacks, 3 nuts, 3 walnuts, one day, the other day, like one after the other. And this is just a small thing, but you become like obviously obsessed in terms of what he eats. If he eats the full of it, he takes the right intake. And going back to what his daily lifestyle is, he needs to do the chest therapy because his lungs are having, as I said, thick mucus. So the chest therapy takes his time, like an hour a day. Also, the with the mask, he is taking the nebulizations also to make the mucus flow in the lungs. So all these chest therapies, nebulizations, lots of pills, and daily therapies is part of his life.
So it's a very heavy load for parents to have to bear.
It is. it is for us and for him. And what we tried along the way is to teach him in terms of the importance of this heavy load and how it helps him to become who he is and to become how healthy he is right now. So when he and us sees the good results, you never give up this heavy load because it's really working.
Mm. Mm. So just going back to that day when you were sitting at your desk and you found out about the CF, did you have any questions about what to do with your career at that stage?
On that day, I didn't, because it was probably the last thing I was asking to myself. But interesting enough, I told you I left my desk as it was, and it is the first time I left it like that. And I couldn't care less if I had another meeting in the next coming hours or whatsoever. And I was a partner in EY at the time. You can imagine the workload at the time also. And the other morning, I was at my desk at 8:30 as usual.
The next morning?
Yes, next morning. So it was only the first reaction. And after then, I never took any off from work. I didn't take any sabbatical or whatsoever. I kept on doing at work what I was already before. And not necessarily all my business friends or my colleagues at the office knew about it at all either.
And so how did you manage with... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Cecilia. And it is the first time probably I'm speaking publicly now with you and sharing my story about this struggle between work, life, CF, and everything.
Mm. So tell me about that struggle.
Well,
how did that play out?
As we know, being a career woman is a struggle in terms of managing many different hats, especially when you have a family, when you have kids. So you're a wife, you're a mom, you're a businesswoman, and many others among other things as well. So different responsibilities, and shuffling and managing your time, your priorities, your responsibilities along these is not easy. And when this journey is coupled with a disease that we need to learn and live with it, it adds up to that. It's coupled with that, obviously. And I probably find it in terms of enriching myself, in terms of how I pursued my career, and in addition to becoming a mom of a CF person. And maybe we talk about it, but I think I did the right thing now, because it has also helped me and him. His name is Sinan, by the way, and me and Sinan, to look at life as normal. So we are not having any irregular life at all.
Mm. And what was your husband doing at this time? What was his career?
He was at a corporate job. He was the corporate affairs director of a multinational company as well. So he didn't stop working either at the time. So we both were kept on our jobs and kept on our careers. And to give the credit to him, he has been a fantastic dad in terms of to take care of that. I mean, our doctors have fun of us. He has become a doctor like that for CF. So he knows incredibly a lot about CF. He reads a lot. He's part of the research groups at the world level, and he has enabled to establish the association, Cystic Fibrosis Association in Turkey, sitting in the boards to help for that, and then also being part of the client account group, like at the Europe level, for the cystic fibrosis parents, and dealing with the drug companies, the pharmaceutical companies, to help them for their research and others. So he's fantastic in terms of knowledge, in terms of research and execution of these daily case. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to carry on my career either, by the way.
Mm-hmm. So who was doing the massages and making sure that your son was getting enough to eat, and who was doing all that?
At the time when I decided to keep on carrying my job, obviously I needed to have the support. And we had the nanny anyways to support me and him when he was growing or he was at that age. And then we just increased the support system. Basically, it is us at the gear level, it is us at the driving seat, but we have many support systems. So basically, the nanny when he was really young to take care of these daily therapies and also the nutrition and also the play and everything. But also we were at the very, very, very close level of monitoring to ensure everything is being done at the right timing, because the timing schedule is important, the content is important, the hygiene is important. Maybe I need to mention about this hygiene. We have been told that because this sickness is very much not immune to pathogen like virus and bacteria. Since he is born, we have been living like in a very hygiene environment, because he can easily catch cold and it can get severe. It can turn into pneumonia. Can easily be hospitalized, which we have been hospitalized along the journey, but thanks God it all went well and we recovered. But what I'm saying is, with this pandemic period and the COVID-19, the whole world learned how to live with this protective environment. And yet we knew this from the first moment we were diagnosed with CF. And it's interesting in that sense.
So COVID is nothing new for you.
No, it's only different in terms of we also do that, because when he was a baby, our doctors told him not to take him to indoor places a lot, including the planes, for example. And therefore, when we were in plane, he was wearing this mask, the usual mask we use now with COVID-19, and he didn't want to do that because he's the only one doing that. He wearing that mask. So in order to encourage him, we were also putting masks in the plane, for example. But now everyone has a mask, right? Yeah.
So in January, you decided to resign from Ernst&Young. Why was that?
Yeah, I had a good career, big career, I would say successful career. So I have been assumed the global roles, like being on the plane every week when Sinan was at the primary school age. So I have assumed like the top of the iceberg roles. To me, I never dreamed of it when I was joining as an assistant level, probably. So becoming responsible for a region at EMEA level with that many of countries and that many of responsibilities, being the first Turkish partner in that regional role. So I felt like I have been very much done my self-esteem in that sense. And obviously, it was not easy with other things running in on the side, as we just shared and talked about briefly. And of course, I felt like there is also me. And probably along this journey, my job was taking a big priority. My son was taking a big priority. And despite the fact that there is nothing that I was missing or in my life for myself, I felt like I am ready to resign from my corporate job in terms of full-time commitment. And I felt like when I do it at the age of 50, which was the case, it is a good timing because I want to carry on business because I'm still in the business life, but at a different level. So right now I decided and I'm pursuing a career at the board levels, so board of directors levels. I'm either a member or an advisor for the board of directors for profit making or some NGOs as well. And in that sense, I felt like that's the right timing to do before I am totally burn out from the business life. So trying to establish a balance, and how I say to myself is I have redesigned my life. So it is sort of a reset for me.
I mean, I think that what you managed to do, having a child with cystic fibrosis, and not only to be a partner at Ernst&Young, but to be taking on global roles with your husband having a high pressure job as well. I just think that is extraordinary that you managed to do that. So I think that saying that at 50 it's time to think of you, I can imagine that having lived with all those pressures, that it certainly is time to think of you.
Yes, totally. And when I started the questions, I mean, I probably did not ask these questions up until recently. The questions like, who am I? What do I stand for in life? What is really important for me? What is the priority of my life? So finding the answers to these questions, like being human and love and spending time with your precious people, loved ones, like your son, your husband, your family, your friends, is really important. And it's not only the business environment that I need to spend time with, but also some others that I probably didn't have enough time that I wanted to give in. Is really important. So there's an end for this life anyways. We are all mortal human beings at the end of the day, and having a conscious choice is important.
And today, how are you feeling today in terms of those questions?
How I feel is liberated, and also probably very courageous, maybe also, because to let go is important. And I felt like I'm ready to let go of the titles, the income, the networks that senior partner of EY brings to you. And I am already establishing new ones, by the way, and that's totally fine. And I'm trying to establish that in the level that I want to do, like the time commitment. I choose myself. The people I work with, I choose myself. The company I work for, I choose myself now. So these are really important things. And more importantly, as I said, my parents thinks that they're still alive. I'm spending time more with them. Of course, they're old and sick. And I'm 51 anyway, so that's life. And my son, we have been spending time also with this COVID period. Everyone is like working from home and those sort of things. I've never spent time in my life with him probably as much as I did in the last 1 year. So we play games, we do laugh, we watch movies, we do many other things together, and it's amazing. And these are the things that makes me feel more human and makes me feel more filled with love, basically.
Oh, I love that. I just love that. And just the last three questions I want to ask. First is, what's the bravest thing you've ever done?
I would say now, especially following on this conversation, the bravest thing was to decide that I will carry on my career despite Sinan was diagnosed with CF. So I could have, and people have told me to stay at home, at least give some time, like sabbatical or whatever kind of period. And I felt like, no, I said no to that in my mind and in execution as well. And I took a brave decision, obviously, because although I had good nannies, although I had established a good support system to take care, of course, no one can replace a mom's care. It wasn't an easy decision. I think that's why I feel like it's brave. And by the way, the reason I also remember a day which enabled me to take this decision. We have been to a cystic fibrosis parents community meeting. I have been there only once. I have no idea if they had more, because the cystic fibrosis is very rare in Turkey. So it's a very rare disease. It's very common in Anglo-Saxon countries like UK, US, Canada, Australia, but very rare in Turkey in terms of the genes. Therefore, the patients and the parents are very limited in number. So in that sense, that community meeting when he was really young, early stage of diagnosis, and I met a couple of moms who have elder kids than Sinan and who have left their business or jobs when they were diagnosed, their kids were diagnosed. And I felt like, no, I need to take care of myself first. I need to be healthy and strong as a mom to be able to give him good care and to help him to take care of his life, basically. So, and my business, my job, my networks around that was my life enablers for doing that. So that's why I felt like I need to move on. And thanks God we could manage everything, although as you described, extraordinary. Yes, it was extraordinary effort, but it worked well. So I'm proud of it.
And what has been being a woman meant to you, and what has that had an impact on your career, either positive or negative? And I'm asking that question in particular to you as a woman living in Istanbul.
Being a woman is important in life, but in business life also. It is different. And I didn't feel it was different, or I didn't feel like I was a woman in business probably until like 7 or 8 years ago. And when I realized my realization or awakening around that came to me when I started to work professionally and also at the NGO levels for women empowerment. And since then, I've been very actively involved and working actively at personal and professional level for women empowerment. And that means in the EY, we were very much we were very much encouraging the women advancement in their careers in business lives. And together with my EMEA leader or global leaders, we did many things around this women empowerment, the research, the roundtables, the meetings, the mentoring, anything. I can go on. But I spent quite enough time around that. We supported the Women 20, that I chaired some of the committees. So I did a lot around that. When you start learning more in terms of reading and talking to many other women, listening to role models in the marketplace and everything, you realize, okay, being man and woman is two different things in the business life. And in Turkey, it is no different than other parts of the world, by the way, in the sense like when you look at the statistics, the education of women is like at the same level, especially of course, there's a difference between the geographies of Turkey. But if I talk about Istanbul or Ankara, where I have been born and grown up, so the main leading capital cities, the education level, it is the same. And when you start the careers or the business life, women are represented at the 50% level. But like in other parts of the world, as we look upwards, the C-suite women representation is getting to a percent of like 30%, if not less, like 25%. And if we look, if you look at the board of directors level, it's getting less. It is 17% now for the women representation at the board levels. So, because I'm also a board member at the Women on Boards Association, among other things that I'm doing for the women empowerment. So we are really working hard to change these statistics and to help the women, and especially the young girls who are at the early age, to advance their careers and to take the well-earned, well-deserved place as they wish and as they aspire to.
No, that's fantastic. And Demet, if you had a message for the people who are listening, what would that message be?
There are many messages, but one thing I would say is try to have a balanced life, mind, body, soul. And I really look at this as an important aspect. I mean, I say it as a 51-year-old Demet now, and I had no idea about it like even 10 years ago. I could only care about mind or rational or focus on the future, very resilient for the results. I need to be high achiever. I need to have this and that and success at business and success in terms of achieving different things was my first priority. And along the way, health issues have taught me, okay, there's a body involved in the system. And to keep up this body and mind balance, you need a healthy soul as well. So whatever keeps your soul healthy also, that needs to be integrated into your life is what I have learned along the way. So keeping a healthy balance around mind, body, soul is important. And how you do it is totally dependent on the person. It's totally different. There's no one recipe for everyone. We are all human beings. We are all different. But important thing is knowing who we are and knowing who we want to become. So that journey is just the beauty of life.
Was there a particular moment when you came to that realization, or was it progressive?
I think it was progressive. This cystic fibrosis diagnosis didn't hit me to realize this maybe until years later, let's say. So probably it was at the back of the mind and the body, obviously, because living with it is something in your routine, in your daily life. The lifestyle is totally dependent on to take care of it. Where you go for a vacation, where you live, what he does for schools, what he does for social activities, what friends he has, and that totally changes your lifestyle. But you're not aware of this specifically. But then along the way, some other things have happened in my life, like being to a specific course in terms of discovery in my personal journey, in terms of my personal transformation. And then also I decided to become an executive coach, and learning and developing myself throughout that coaching journey has helped me. And I was diagnosed and a survivor of cancer 2 or 3 years ago, my cancer. So that was another uh, addition to my learning. So many other things altogether. And so, yeah, many other toughs and peaks and troughs of the lives, like the roller coaster as we call it, have enabled me to come to this stage. And I'm so grateful of each and every journey and each and every experience I have had in life that has helped me become who I am right now.
Mm. I love the way that you've had periods in your life where it's been really, full on, both at home and at work. And I'd just like to acknowledge your resilience in deciding to keep going with your career, despite everything that was happening at home. And also, I just love what you've just said about the fact that we're not just rational beings. We've got creativity, we've got bodies, we've got souls, we've got, and that we need to be dealing with the whole of ourselves. And the other thing I'd like to reflect back to you is just how calm, the calm that you purvey. And there's a calm about you, which is telling me that you've found a place of calm and of balance in your life. So I'd just like to reflect that back to you, and say thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Beautifully reflected and beautifully summarized of what I have just shared.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Cecilia. It was such a nice chat with you, and all the greetings from Istanbul on a rainy day in spring, though.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Brave New Women. Certain podcast sites such as Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Podchaser let you leave a rating and a review. The more ratings and reviews we get, the more people will listen and the more these women's stories will be shared. So I'd really appreciate it if you could. Thanks for listening.